My name is Mary Ellen Schneider, and I'm the Fine Arts Department Chair at St. Ignatius. I'm proud to say that we probably have at least 50% of the student body involved in one of the visual or performing arts throughout their career here. It's important for the students to be involved in the arts here because they learn something that they can enjoy for a lifetime. There's no cap on how old you can be to be a musician or a visual artist and create. Our talented students are very creative. Beautiful things are displayed around the school. They also get very excited about productions and concerts, performing for others. And there's so many options for you and so much for you to have fun with. I love being department chair because it's exciting to be able to lead a group of other artists and to see them be able to be involved in the arts. Sometimes at the high school level, it becomes very selective. We have so many things here that are inclusive of students at all levels.
My name is Patrick Winter, and I'm the chair of the Religious Studies Department at St. Ignatius College Prep. This is the department where we take the academic discipline of theology and we engage our students in questions about God, about meaning, about purpose. I think of us as kind of a worldview department. And what we do is we take the students who come in, we meet them where they are, but then we try to take them somewhere else, somewhere new. What happens in our classrooms is that it becomes kind of a dynamic exchange between the students and their own context and their own experience and the tools that we try to offer to them, and out comes something that is a mix of the religious studies curriculum that's grounded in the Catholic tradition, but also that's brought to life by their own experience and their own reflection and the questions that they have. And the students who we teach really do a wonderful job of actively engaging in that dynamic process.
My name is Mary Ellen Schneider, and I'm the Fine Arts Department Chair at St. Ignatius. I'm proud to say that we probably have at least 50% of the student body involved in one of the visual or performing arts throughout their career here. It's important for the students to be involved in the arts here because they learn something that they can enjoy for a lifetime. There's no cap on how old you can be to be a musician or a visual artist and create. Our talented students are very creative. Beautiful things are displayed around the school. They also get very excited about productions and concerts, performing for others. And there's so many options for you and so much for you to have fun with. I love being department chair because it's exciting to be able to lead a group of other artists and to see them be able to be involved in the arts. Sometimes at the high school level, it becomes very selective. We have so many things here that are inclusive of students at all levels.
You don't have to be around Loyola very long to discover that tradition is an important part of the life of the school.
Hey Michael, can we go to Sound 2A?
Let's get started. Everyone pull out your iPads and open up.
If we're not constantly challenging ourselves in new ways, then our tradition's not going to survive. So the vibrancy of the tradition is fed by a creativity and an openness to change. On the first day of school with freshmen, I always ask them this question, and it comes from a wonderful American poet named Mary Oliver. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? As a Jesuit high school, this is a place to ask that question. This is a place to let that question rattle around in your heart. This is a place to let that question get tested. Never let go of it. What is it you want to do with this gift of your life?
Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. For those of you who would like to broadcast or live stream your event, or maybe make a highlight tape but would like a sponsor to fund the event, SBS has a myriad of ways to advertise your sponsor during our broadcasts. We have commercials. We have on-air reads by the announcers.
Albatross Physical Therapy and Wellness specializes in pain-free.
We have graphics. And we have watermarks. Finally, Sports Broadcast Solutions can create a commercial for you or your sponsor. Whatever your sports broadcast needs, we are at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital sporting world. Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. We broadcast sporting events for people of all ages, including adult leagues, high school leagues, and kids. Complete with professional-looking graphics, broadcasters, color analysis, and commercials. We do pre- and post-game interviews with the players. In addition, Sports Broadcast Solutions does highlight films, including college recruiting reels, highlight films you'd see on sports news programs, and just simply highlight films for fun. Sports Broadcast Solutions also provides raw footage and live streams if you'd like. Subscribe to us and listen to our professional talk videos about relevant topics in the pro and college ranks. Whatever your sports broadcast needs, contact us at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com and become part of the digital world. Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. Instead of spending hundreds or thousands with all these college recruiting sites, let us put together your college highlight reel. For just a fraction of your potential college scholarship and significantly less than these recruiting services, we got this. In addition, we put together highlight reels for teams, including high school, your club team, or travel team.
My teammate gave me a great pass, and I just took it. The other team slashed me, took the opportunity, saw where the goalie was weak, and I just shot it there.
Solon, O'Connor, and Marsh back on defense, and Marsh gets a blowout. We got a breakaway at 2-0. A shot, and a goal! So 3-3, the power play was officially over.
Whatever your sports broadcast needs, check us out at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital world. Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. For those of you that just want raw footage of your sporting event, but no play-by-play or color commentary, you just need us to live stream video from the event over the internet. We will live stream your event on YouTube on our Sports Broadcast Solutions channel. In addition, we also have a dedicated channel on YouTube for live streaming at SBS Livestream. And if you need multiple channels, we can utilize Facebook Livestream and Instagram Live on our channel as well. Options include commercials from your sponsors, professional scoreboard graphics are still available, and of course, yes, pre- and post-game interviews are available as an option if you want.
We've been working really hard this whole summer and stuff.
Whatever your sports broadcast needs, we are at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital sporting world.
Your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more. We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone. Missing your child's sporting event just plain stinks. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, thanks to Sports Broadcast Solutions. SBS is a live broadcasting network, as well as covering your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more. We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
To say that the Chicago Bears have been a train wreck of a franchise these past 10 or so seasons would be a colossal understatement. The last time that the Bears won a playoff game, you might ask? It was a home win against the Seattle Seahawks. Jay Cutler was the Bears' starting quarterback that day, and even more embarrassing, the Seahawks didn't even have a winning record. Seattle entered the divisional round with an 8-9 record. with the 2010 Seahawks being a far cry from the 2005 team who finished one win shy of a Super Bowl victory. Anyway, that Bears playoff win took place in January of 2011, over 10 years ago. Yikes, that's awful. If we count playoff wins against winning teams, the Bears haven't won a dignified playoff game since the 2007 NFC Championship game. So yeah, Chicago isn't exactly known as a franchise known for recent and sustained success. All of these facts are important to note when critiquing Ryan Pace's latest disaster of a free agent pickup, quarterback Andy Dalton. After offering Seattle a ridiculous trade request of 3 first-round picks, a third-round draft pick, and 2 starting players for quarterback Russell Wilson, the Seahawks responded with, "Thanks, but no thanks." It's actually kind of crazy that Seahawks GM John Schneider would turn that down. Is any one player better than 6 players? I don't think so, but apparently Schneider thinks that Russell Wilson will improve from some of his disastrous interceptions this past season. Remember, Wilson was definitely prone to turnovers in 2020. In fact, during the lopsided defeat in the wild card against the Rams, the former Super Bowl champion threw a pick-6 and completed less than 50% of his passes. By the way, that playoff defeat took place at home to a team that, of course, they knew very well. And yet Schneider would rather keep a 32-year-old signal caller over 6 potential impact players. It's definitely a risk, especially since Wilson reportedly wants to change of scenery from the team who drafted him. There's no guarantee that this relationship can be repaired between head coach Pete Carroll and Wilson. But back to Pace and the signing of Andy Dalton. The signing makes sense, especially since Deshaun Watson is currently involved in a humongous legal mess. The legal mess comes from his own doing, and if it turns out to be 9 total civil cases, this won't be solved quickly. Draft picks are very valuable, and if Pace found out about this before the lawsuits hit the mainstream media, then all the power to him for not pursuing a blockbuster trade with the Houston Texans. Well, at least not trade for Watson until 1, the civil matters are resolved, and 2, it's been determined when Deshaun can return to football activities. Watson could very well be suspended from the NFL due to its strict conduct policy. I'm not a Ryan Pace fan by any means, but come on now. Who is Pace going to turn to if Watson is involved in a major litigation situation and the Seahawks won't budge on their insane trade demands? There simply weren't many sexy quarterbacks available since Carolina looks to give Teddy Bridgewater another try at quarterback, and Matt Ryan recently restructured his deal to stay in Atlanta. In my opinion, any player is tradable. The Seahawks are just hoping they can resolve the Wilson relationship, but it was reported by NFL Network that Schneider head coach Pete Carroll discussed the possibility of a Wilson mega deal. Another thing to keep in mind is the Seahawks need a bridge quarterback while they draft and groom one. Dalton could be part of another Bears trade request. While not a Hall of Fame quarterback by any means, Dalton is a 3-time Pro Bowler who helped lead the Bengals to the playoffs on several different occasions after Carson Palmer decided to not play another down for the team. Dalton isn't necessarily that type of player anymore. His last 3 wins for the Cowboys came against teams with losing records, but he has an intriguing resume. He could have easily won the 2015 MVP award if not for his broken right thumb in Week 14. And he had to play for a franchise that's quite possibly the cheapest in the entire NFL. If you don't believe me, check out this article from rosterwatch.com. It's very dated since the author wrote it in 2013, but some of the facts from it are very cringeworthy. For example, former Bengals cornerback Jonathan Joseph once went on the record and said the Bengals make you have a roommate on road trips and put a limitation on how many Gatorades that you can take home. Keep in mind that the Bengals also don't practice at a privatized facility. They practice outdoors all season long unless the players and staff want to drive 25 miles to practice indoors at the University of Cincinnati's indoor facility. The players are even known to complain about the Bengals' messy facilities. When a grown man complains about a lack of cleanliness, you know it has to be filthy. I just bring up the Bengals to help you understand why young quarterbacks can have disastrous results when drafted by the Bengals. The team hasn't won a playoff game since 1990, and once again, Carson Palmer would rather have retired than ever play another snap in Cincy. That's horrendous to think about, and yet Dalton found some decent success in the AFC North Division. However, the 33-year-old version of Andy Dalton is nowhere near the 2015 MVP candidate that the Red Rocket was. Still, the Cowboys decided to bring him in as an emergency option in case Dak Prescott got hurt. Prescott got hurt, and the rest is history. Well, sort of. The Cowboys had a major offensive line problem and overall defensive liabilities with Dalton under center. But the boys still could have won the very weak NFC East division if Dalton was a little bit more consistent. Veteran backup quarterbacks are rather expensive, and with Prescott seemingly at 100% post-injury, the Cowboys let their costly backup quarterback walk in free agency. So the title of this video is trying to answer the question, can Andy Dalton lead to a playoff win? No, he can't. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe below and check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Oh.
All right, good morning and welcome everyone to the 2021 Jesuit Cup between St. Ignatius College Prep and the Loyola Academy Ramblers. Right now we've got the crews headed up to the starting line. So we've got some Varsity Boys 4s passing us here. Good, so the crews, they're gonna head out up to the starting line, and then we've got our racing starting probably within the next, 10-15 minutes or so here. We will be starting with the Novice Boys 4 event, so that'll be our sort of freshman boys cruise. From there, we will have our Novice Girls 8 event, which will be our freshman girls cruise. That will be followed by 2 Varsity Boys 4s, and then we'll finish up with our Varsity Girls 8, and that'll be our morning flight here. Once all those crews have raced through and finished, we will send them out again. We'll send out a couple more races, and we'll get a little bit of afternoon racing here. So right now, we are just kind of waiting for the boats to get lined up. We've got a couple of novice boats still to pass us. They are coming up here down the river. And we are up at the Damrich Rowing Center on the north branch of the Chicago River up in Skokie. This has been where both Loyola Academy and New Trier have trained for years. Our St. Ignatius Wolfpack trains down on the south branch of the Chicago River, so it's a little bit of north side versus south side action here. We've got kind of just a light drizzle falling, but overall conditions are pretty good today for racing. As you can see, we've got some really flat water, which will really help out these crews be just nice and clean with their blade work, and we should see some really good racing. So What we're looking to see today, we will see two boats racing side by side. They will come down the channel here, and it's really just head-to-head racing. This style of racing is called Hurley style, after the Hurley Regatta, which is on the River Thames in England. And that's another famous regatta where it's just two boats head-to-head. So right here, it looks like we've got the Loyola Academy Boys 4 coming up. Not sure if this is a Novice Boys 4 or a Varsity Boys 4, but they are coming up here just on their warm-up. Our race distance today is going to be 1,500 meters. That is the distance that American Scholastic crews, so high school programs, typically race. A normal sort of spring distance and the Olympic distance for rowing is 2,000 meters, but our high school crews here, we're going to see them race 1,500 meters. It should take, these crews anywhere between... Really, it depends. Our good crews, we'll see them get this done in 5 minutes, maybe even a little bit less than that. For our novice crews, it could take them anywhere from, 6 to 7 minutes here. This next boat coming up is our St. Ignatius Girls Novice 8. So these are some of our freshmen and sophomore from St. Ignatius. They're getting warmed up here. Good, and so they'll row down to the start line, again, about 1,500 meters down. And then they will spin in the river, and the race will head back the other way. Good. So we're just waiting for about 2 more boats to come down. We're looking for the Loyola Novice Girls 8 and the St. Ignatius Novice Boys 4. Once those crews pass us and they get up to the start line, we'll get underway here. In what has been a pretty incredible, last year, with the pandemic and all that's gone on, this is actually our first Jesuit Cup in 2 years here. This is a race that has been contested almost every season between these crews, and then they typically, Loyola and St. Ignatius, will meet up again at the Midwest Championships at the beginning of May. And that is the regatta typically where all of the high school crews from around the Midwest will get together. They will compete, usually in Cincinnati, Ohio, and that is when they're competing for spots at the National Championship Regatta. That usually takes place in New Jersey at the end of May. So this will be the first meeting of Loyola and St. Ignatius in over 2 years here. I know all the kids, they're excited to get back to racing. On the St. Ignatius side of things, we were pretty excited to pack up our trailer and have our first road trip in a while here. Good, and I guess a little bit about me. I'm your host today. My name is Caroline Hurley. I am the St. Ignatius novice assistant coach. I'm a graduate of St. Ignatius College Prep myself, so I've raced down this north shore of the river here plenty of times against Loyola, and so it's good to be back doing the live commentary this morning. I'm excited to see some racing and see what these crews do. It's been, like I said, just an incredible last year with the pandemic. Our training schedules have really been affected and changed. We've really had to, both teams and really all rowing teams have had to adapt to just all kinds of, changing rules and changing, situations as far as the coronavirus pandemic goes. So on the St. Ignatius end of things, we've really had to get creative as far as when we can train, how we can train, in what size groups and boats and all sorts of stuff like that. I know Loyola has had to just deal with, similar considerations. So right here, this appears to be the Loyola Novice Boys 4 coming down. Good, and the next crew coming down here, we've got the Loyola Novice Girls 8. Good, so as you can see, the races that will be contested today, we have 8 boats, which as you can see have 8 rowers here, 1 coxswain. The coxswain sits up at the stern of the boat and can see all of the rowers. Obviously, all of the rowers are facing backwards here, so they really can't see where they're going. So it's really the coxswain's responsibility to safely navigate the crew through the race course, to steer, and to sort of survey the field, survey the situation with the race. And really, the coxswain is the one making all of the strategic decisions, calling, different moves, different ratings, so how fast or how slow the crew rows. And the coxswain is really sort of the brains of the boat, and the rowers provide all of the power. So we'll see kind of how this goes today. It is a challenging course to steer through, because as you can see, the river is quite narrow here. But yeah, it's usually a pretty fun race, and hopefully we'll see some good rowing. Good, and the final crews we're just waiting on are our St. Ignatius novices. Once they come by, they'll head up to the start line, they'll get spun. We have coaches in our starting launches. They'll be following the races here, keeping everybody safe. We saw one go by already that you may have seen on the stream here. And those starting launches, they will line up the crews. They'll get the coxswains, everybody even and lined up with the starting line. They will call the start of the race. They'll basically say, attention, go. From there, our crews will take off, and the launches will follow the crews up the river and keep everybody from any harm. Good, and so coming down the channel here, maybe about 500 meters away or so, we've got eyes on that last St. Ignatius boat. They're coming up. Once they get past us, like I said, we'll get the racing underway shortly after that.
Watch it on the monitor. It's right there.
Cool.
That's what we're watching live.
Good, and here comes that last St. Ignatius boat and a coaching launch beside them. And as far as the scene at the course today goes, it's a pretty quiet scene. We don't have a lot of spectators here with everything going on with coronavirus. We are streaming from under the lovely Main Street Bridge up in Skokie here. Usually this riverbank will be packed with spectators for the Jesuit Cup race, but today it's just a handful of people, a bit of a skeleton crew. for 1 second?
Future races, we do film in 4K if you need.
All right, so we've just seen that St. Ignatius Boys Novice 4 go by. That's our last crew heading up to the starting line. As soon as they get up there, we can expect the racing to start shortly here. So to all of our viewers watching from home, thank you for tuning in. Bit of an early Saturday morning start here, but that is rowing for you. All right, so heading down now, we've got our coaching launches. These are those safety launches I was talking about that are going to follow the course here.
I can also touch the brake if you can't talk for like 30 seconds. Instead of it just being like nothing for 30 seconds.
Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. For those of you who would like to broadcast or live stream your event, or maybe make a highlight tape but would like a sponsor to fund the event, SBS has a myriad of ways to
All right. And here we go. We got probably, I think, our last coaching boat coming by here. And then from there, we will get started. We've got a good little band of spectators across the river from Loyola Academy. Good. So that should be the last bit of boats heading upstream. Now everything else we'll have coming back the other way towards us. We'll see these rowers on full power. And so this race this morning, this is a spring season race, and you can kind of think of the rowing fall season versus the rowing spring season a little similar to cross country and track and field. In the fall season, these crews, they'll race longer distances. We'll see them racing 5,000 meters or so. In the spring, like I said, today's race will be 1,500 meters. More senior crews, our college crews, Olympic level crews, they're racing 2,000 meters, but our high school crews got a little bit shorter distance here. And rowing is a year-round sport, so these kids have been training really since August, all for this spring season. All of that training and hard work will culminate, hopefully, in that championship regatta at the beginning of May in Ohio. But yeah, these kids, they've been training longer distances in the fall. They're rowing out there in the cold, usually up until about Thanksgiving. From there, all of the teams, at least in a place like Chicago in the colder weather months, they'll move inside. So Loyola, they have some indoor rowing tanks where they've actually got sort of a pool that, they've got a sort of stationary boat in, and they can practice the stroke in there. And then we've also got rowing machines. They're called ergometer machines, or ergs. That's where we do, just a lot of our hard training, and that's when we're really building fitness in the winter. Winter training is really all about building a really good aerobic base and a really good sort of, baseline fitness level. And then once we get back on the water in the spring, usually kind of depends on how long that Chicago winter goes. This year we were fortunate to have a little bit milder winter. We were able to get on the water in March. Some years we've had to wait until as late as April. But, all the crews here, they got back on the water in March. They've been practicing, in their boats, in their lineups, working on their technique, working on their timing. Timing is a really key element in rowing. You've really got to be doing everything together, otherwise it is just not going to work. And so viewers at home, that's really one thing to be watching for today. You can see the crews that will have the better timing, they will generally be ahead in these races. So keep an eye out for that. By timing, we're looking to see, all of the oars going in the water together at what is called the catch. So all of the oars going in the water together, everyone pushing through the water and then coming out together. It's really that key, in together, out together pieces here. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some good timing. We'll also see, we'll see about the tempo and the rhythm. These crews, they count their tempo in what is called strokes per minute. And so typically in spring races, they'll be rowing anywhere from 34 strokes a minute up to maybe a 36 strokes per minute. And that's really going to be on the coxswains to decide how fast they want their crews moving. So the coxswains will give them a rating. We'll say, all right, guys, let's see a 34 strokes a minute. And then the rower at the beginning of the boat, in what is called stroke seat, that's who's going to set that tempo, and all the other rowers will be expected to follow. So rating will play a big part in this today. We'll see kind of which crews are taking things a little faster, which crews are maybe rating a couple of beats lower to really kind of try and keep that timing on and keep that focus. So we'll see what these crews can do today. I'm expecting to see the novice boats maybe a little lower, maybe around a 34 or so, but some of these varsity crews, we could see them at a 36 or higher, really. So yeah, we'll see how things go. But viewers at home, keep an eye out for that timing and how these blades are going in the water. I'll be able to call out our ratings here for some of that tempo information. Good, and like I said earlier, we are watching from actually below the Main Street Bridge in Skokie here, and so at the bridge here, looking kind of down the course as the camera is pointed now, looking down the course, that is where we'll see the finish line, and we won't get a full view of the finish line here, but this will really be kind of our best place to see the rowing up close, to see kind of each athlete and how hard they're working. So yeah, we're excited. We should be getting going here in a couple of minutes. All right, and so we've got the camera sort of pointed down the channel here. We're waiting to see these crews come down. I've just been informed there's quite a few live viewers here, so welcome to all of you at home. For those of you that missed earlier in the stream, welcome to the 2021 Jesuit Cup race versus the St. Ignatius College Prep Wolfpack and the Loyola Academy Ramblers. Both two, excellent Jesuit schools, excellent rowing programs here. These teams, they've competed every year, typically at this venue along the north branch of the Chicago River here. This is the first meeting of these crews in over 2 years now, so these kids, they're excited to get after it. There's a little bit of a rivalry between the two programs here. For those of you that know, St. Ignatius and Loyola meet pretty much in all of our athletic teams. I'm not sure if we play in football against each other, but we meet frequently in basketball. That's always a big game, always a big Jesuit Cup match going on there, and so that rivalry, it does translate over to the rowing programs a bit, and these teams, this will be their first meeting of the season here, and then hopefully we will all be meeting up again in Cincinnati, Ohio on the first weekend of May. As for your host, my name is Caroline Hurley. I am one of the novice coaches at St. Ignatius. I'm also a graduate and an alumni of St. Ignatius rowing myself. So I rowed I didn't row. I was a coxswain. I rowed for about a year, and that was enough of that. So I spent my time as a coxswain on the St. Ignatius rowing team. After that, I was a coxswain in college, and now I am back here, And it's great to be back. It's great to be back up on the North Branch today. It's great to be back coaching at my own program. It's really, I think a lot of high school rowing graduates, both on Loyola and alumni from St. Ignatius' program would agree that, rowing in high school really does give you so much, and so it's good to be here, giving back to the program that really gave me so much in my life. So I'm excited to kind of see how things go today. And we will, I'm really getting kind of antsy over here. I'm just waiting to catch the first flash of those maroon and gold blades from either team coming down the channel here. The rain seems to have let up a little bit here. It's just a very light drizzle. Overall, perfect conditions for rowing. As you guys can see on the stream right now, this is incredibly flat water. There's hardly a ripple to it. This is exactly what you want. We've got no wind in either direction. Really, wind can affect a crew quite a bit. You can have a tailwind, which is blowing down the course in the direction of the race. And that's one situation, but then you can also have a headwind, which is blowing against you as you're rowing down. Both challenging, both requiring a little bit different strokes, but we won't have to contend with any of that today. We've got absolutely no wind, absolutely no waves of any kind. Good, and I'm sure some of you viewers at home are wondering why we are getting started quite a bit late here, and this is at a sort of official regatta, such as like our championship at the end of the season. The times table and the time schedule will be really specific. So these crews and these coxswains will really need to be, making sure that they're up to the start line at their designated time for their race. Our event today is really just a scrimmage between these two teams, and with having not raced in quite a while, we were a little bit slower to get started, but everybody's on the water now. Everybody should be warmed up, ready to go. Typically, when the crews are heading up the race course towards the starting line, that's when they're executing their warm-up. So they'll, start off slow, get the rhythm, get rowing together. From there, they'll kind of pick up the speed, they'll pick up the power, and really you want to be starting a race sweating. You want to have your muscles hot and ready to work hard. So that's what we kind of saw on the warm-up. And these crews, they should be coming out any minute. I know I'm sort of teasing you guys with saying that so much, but we are really just kind of waiting on pins and needles here to get that first glimpse of them. Good. And for our novices today, this is actually really, their first kind of official race, really of their careers. And because we didn't have any racing last spring, we've actually got, some sophomores on the team that really haven't seen any spring racing like this so far against other crews. So, that might be a little bit cause for some of the delays here, but it's going to be exciting. This will be their first big race. Like I said, earlier in the broadcast, both of these teams here have had to make significant changes to their training schedules and to some of their plans here to really align with some of those coronavirus precautions. On the St. Ignatius side of things, we've been rowing in smaller boats, we've been rowing in masks, we've had to be, socially distant during our indoor training, and we've really had to kind of, pivot and change our plans based on the rules coming down from our public health officials. So it hasn't been a normal year for training. It's been certainly a long year, certainly nothing normal here. So we're not really sure how that will affect the racing today. Typically these are two very good programs that give each other a good fight. So we're definitely hoping to see that again today. They haven't met up in over 2 years. All right, and so we've just got word from where we are here that the boys novice fours are lined up at the starting line, ready to go any second here. Once they get started, it should be maybe about 2 to 3 minutes before we see them coming this way, depending on, as I said earlier, kind of how fast they're going, what that tempo's like. Really, this, like I said, it's the first big test for the novices here, and really it's going to be more of a mental test than a physical test. Rowing it's really all, there's obviously a huge physical component to it here, but the biggest thing is the mental side of things and, keeping yourself focused and calm in a racing situation. Particularly in this head-to-head racing side by side like this, that is when it can get really difficult. We're on a skinny channel here, you're close to that other boat, you can hear them, you can see them, and it's really, on the rowers to keep themselves calm and rowing well, executing their race plans. And a lot of that will come from the coxswains too. The coxswains will need to really sort of modulate their voice and their tone to really match what's going on in the race. So in a head-to-head style race like this, you could have a situation where you want your crew to be really calm and just, stealthy and like slowly move through another crew. Or as a coxswain, you've really got to get amped up and you've got to get your rowers ready to take a big move and power through these crews here. So we'll see kind of how these novice coxswains to start out in these fours handle things, and how the rowers keep themselves mentally focused and in the boat. One key thing as a rower is that you really want to make sure you've got your eyes always in the boat, and that's something that can be really challenging for our novices here, as we're traveling to these new race courses that they haven't been to before, or, as they're in a whole new situation like that, they've really never raced before, it can be really hard to keep those eyes in the boat, to keep focused, but that's something that, viewers at home, keep an eye out for that today. We really want to see some good focus from this first race coming down. Good, so the novice boys fours have started. We've gotten word that they should be coming down the channel, in a couple of minutes here. When they start out the race, the crews will start out with a couple of fraction strokes. So they're not going to start out with full slide with big strokes. They're going to take a few just really short, quick strokes to get the boats up to speed. From there, typically crews will take a certain number of high strokes, and so that's where they're going to bring that stroke rating up to, maybe as high as, 40, 42 strokes a minute here. They'll hold it at that high rating for probably anywhere from, 15, 20, maybe even 25 strokes in some of our varsity crews. They'll hold that high rating, and then the coxswain will call for the rowers to lengthen out and really just kind of bring that rating down, stretch out, start taking bigger strokes, and that's when they'll start getting down into that, 34 to 36 strokes a minute range that we were talking about earlier here. Good, and so you guys can't see me on camera now, but I am careening my neck out over this river here, trying to just catch a glimpse of any of these boats that might be coming down. It looks like I've got eyes on, I think, the Loyola boys 4 here coming down first. Good, so they are going to come up. I believe the Loyola boys 4 will be on our side of the shoreline. Good, and the Loyola boys 4 looks like they're taking it at a little bit lower rating here. I've got them rating at a 31 strokes a minute now. So they're taking just kind of the long, controlled, slow approach here. Good, now as they're coming into view here, I've got them at a 28 strokes a minute. That's low for a spring race, but as you can see, their timing is really controlled, and that's what's helping them move pretty well together here. So this is Loyola coming by, Loyola boys novice 4. This is our first race of the day. Good, we see that timing. They're at a 28 strokes a minute. Good, just looking pretty long and low here. Good, and the St. Ignatius boys novice 4 is coming into view as well. You can see that Loyola boat kind of approaching the finish line there. Good, and we've got that St. Ignatius boys novice 4 in view. Good, and they're rating much higher. They are rating up at, let's see here, about a 33, 34 strokes a minute. So they're much higher, but we'll see as they come by kind of how they look here and some of our differences between them and the Loyola boat that we just saw by. So St. Ignatius is coming up. They are maybe about 150 meters away from us here in the camera. They are coming up on this bridge. Yep, so St. Ignatius at about a 33, 34 strokes a minute here. Good, and in this crew, the timing is decent. They're maybe rowing a little bit shorter than that Loyola crew was, because that Loyola crew was quite a bit lower on the rating. So here comes our St. Ignatius boys novice 4. Good, and it looks like they've still got a lot of energy here to finish out this race. They're actually rowing in the SS Imagination, which that shell is probably 30 years old. I raced in it myself as a novice. So there they are going by, St. Ignatius boys novice 4. Good, and they are just finishing it out down the course here. And we're looking to see some really sharp timing from this crew. That's really the difference that I told you viewers to look out for today, is if those oars are just going in together and out together, especially in these novice boats. So the next race coming down should be our Novice Girls 8. I've got the Loyola Novice Girls 8 coming into view now. They're still a ways off from this bridge. Probably a little less than 500 meters off from the bridge, but we'll be seeing the Loyola Girls Novice 8 coming by shortly here. Personally, I'm hoping the St. Ignatius boat is not far behind. Good, and the Loyola Novice Girls 8, again, a long and low rating here. I've got them at a 29, which that really is, that's a good strategy for novices here. Sometimes just going a couple beats lower on the rating really does help with some of that timing, that coordination that we were talking about earlier. So Loyola taking it a little lower at a 29 strokes a minute, coming into view. Good, and St. Ignatius is not far behind. I've got eyes on those maroon and gold blades coming up behind them. And it looks like, oh, we've got the Loyola boat is stuck. The Loyola boat appears to have caught a crab. Now, this is a common occurrence in novice rowing, and it really is an unfortunate occurrence if you're in the boat that catches the crab. And the situation there is that your oar gets kind of stuck. It maybe goes in on an angle, and the water can actually suck your blade down and bring your handle up over your head. So that was a tough break for the Loyola Novice Girls 8 here, but if the St. Ignatius Girls 8 can take advantage, we'll see what can happen here. It looks like we've got, maybe about a boat length and a half of distance between these two crews. It's pretty close. So yeah, we had a little bit of a stoppage in that Loyola boat here. They're coming up at 31 strokes a minute now. And we really want to see some timing here. We got the St. Ignatius Girls. We've got that stroke seat rowing pretty hard in the St. Ignatius 8. They're way up at about a 36. Maybe a little high for the girls behind her to keep up with, but if they can get it together, if they can get that timing, they might have a chance here at catching that Loyola 8. Good, so yeah, that is our first two races down. I believe our next race coming down should be a boys varsity 4 event. Now, in novice racing, typically we'll see, the boats spread, some good distance between the boats sometimes, but we're looking to see these boys varsity boats be a little bit closer together, a little bit more head-to-head and down to the wire. So we'll see kind of what happens as they come up here. In this race, it does look like Loyola is in the far lane on the far side, so I can see them first, but that's not to say that, St. Ignatius is not close behind, just out of view. Good, so in this Loyola Boys 4 coming down, it looks like they are at, what do we got them here? About a 30 strokes a minute. Good, and I do have eyes on St. Ignatius now. They are pretty close. St. Ignatius will be on our side of the shoreline here. And again, first meeting of these crews in probably over 2 years here. Good, I've got that St. Ignatius boat in view. It looks like they are maybe about a boat length back, a boat length behind Loyola, maybe a little more. Yeah, probably a little bit more than that. But they are in view. Good. And excuse me, it looks like we might have... All right, good. Yeah, this is St. Ignatius coming up. They are actually using Loyola blades here. So this is Loyola passing us now. These are Loyola varsity boys rowing at about a 30 strokes a minute. And then coming up in the other lane, this is a St. Ignatius crew using Loyola blades. We were kind of sharing equipment today, a testament to the good relationship between these two teams. Friendly competition, but a good relationship. Good enough that we're sharing equipment here. So these St. Ignatius boys, good, they're at about a 31. So similar ratings between these two crews, maybe about 3 boat lengths of open water here between Ignatius and Loyola. We've got mostly sophomore boys in that St. Ignatius boat, so really this is their first spring race too. This is their kind of first experience on this course. They started out as freshmen and their season was cut short due to the pandemic last year, so this is really their first big spring race. Coming up again, we've got another race coming down the channel here. It is another boys varsity 4 event. This one does look to be much closer. We've got St. Ignatius using, their own shell, their own oars here. Again, we've got Loyola on the far side of the channel, St. Ignatius in the lane closest to the camera here. It looks like Loyola's got the lead here, but it does appear to be much closer than some of the other races we've seen come down this morning. Good. All right, Loyola at a 33 in the far lane. St. Ignatius here at a little bit lower, around a 30 maybe. Good, and these boats are closer. These boats are maybe spread apart by a boat length of open water, so we'll see if St. Ignatius can pick it up in sort of this last half of the race here. This, at the bridge here, this is really where we're getting down to the wire, and we'll see these crews start to pick it up heading into that finish line. So here comes the Loyola boys varsity 4. You can see the coxswain is actually laying down behind the rowers in these 4s. So there's our Loyola boys. Timing is good. Those blades, they're looking good. It's sharp. Here comes St. Ignatius, varsity boys here. Also excellent timing, moving well through the stroke here. Good. So the most senior rower in that crew, we've got Toby Quinn in bow there. He's really been a leader on this St. Ignatius boys team, and he's leading some of those sophomores there ahead of them because this is sort of their first race. So we'll see if St. Ignatius can pull it out in that one. They're about a boat length of open water behind Loyola. Good, and we are expecting one more race down the channel here, our girls varsity 8 event. I've got eyes on one crew coming down. They're way off in the distance, but they are on their way, and then that will be our last race of the first session here. So I don't know about you viewers at home. I'm not sure, it's probably not the same experience as being here in person, but I can definitely say it feels good to be rowing, to be racing again. It's excellent to be out here. I know all of us have really missed this, and this feels good. It's great to be out here on Saturday. Like I said, excellent conditions, flat water. Good, and we've got the girls varsity 8s coming down, and it looks like St. Ignatius might actually be ahead in this race. So we've got the St. Ignatius girls. They will be on the shore side closest to us. The Loyola girls will be on the far side, and this race is close here, folks. So we'll see kind of what it looks like as they come down, but they are coming into view. St. Ignatius maybe has about a boat length on Loyola, but there might even be some overlap there. This could be our closest race of the morning here. St. Ignatius girls are looking sharp, as are the Loyola Ramblers. Good, and I've got St. Ignatius rating at about a 35. We've got stroke seat Chloe Darcy. Chloe is a sophomore. This is her first big spring race. Good, and they've got about a boat length on Loyola right here. Good, looking sharp in both crews. This is really an excellent race. St. Ignatius at that 34, 35. You can hear the fans here. Loyola looking excellent as well. Here comes the Loyola Ramblers. Good. Good, and we've got some open water there, some open water between St. Ignatius and Loyola. We've got, maybe about a boat length open water here. Both crews looking really good though. And this is really back, for many years now, St. Ignatius girls have raced, the Loyola girls. Typically, St. Ignatius will do well in 4s. So this is good to see. St. Ignatius really giving it to Loyola in an 8 here. What an exciting race coming down. So we'll kind of keep filming until they get out of view, but we'll see if Loyola can muster up a big sprint here. That race will definitely be coming down to the wire. All right, so that close racing there, that's got me excited. We've got about, I think, 4 more races this afternoon. These crews, they will come off the water. They'll shuffle up. We'll see our varsity girls heading out in 4s, our boys heading out in 8s. Novice girls will also be heading out in a 4, and we'll get a little bit more racing to finish the day here. But wow, what an exciting morning. It is great to be back out racing on the Chicago River.
Missing your child's sporting event just plain stinks. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, thanks to Sports Broadcast Solutions. SBS is a live broadcasting network, as well as covering your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more. We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
My name is Patrick Winter, and I'm the chair of the Religious Studies Department at St. Ignatius College Prep. This is the department where we take the academic discipline of theology and we engage our students in questions about God, about meaning, about purpose. I think of us as kind of a worldview department. And what we do is we take the students who come in, we meet them where they are, but then we try to take them somewhere else, somewhere new. What happens in our classrooms is that it becomes kind of a dynamic exchange between the students and their own context and their own experience, and the tools that we try to offer to them, and out comes something that is a mix of the religious studies curriculum that's grounded in the Catholic tradition, but also that's brought to life by their own experience and their own reflection and the questions that they have. And the students who we teach really do a wonderful job of actively engaging in that dynamic process.
Or so seasons would be a colossal understatement. The last time that the Bears won a playoff game, you might ask? It was a home win against the Seattle Seahawks. Jay Cutler was the Bears' starting quarterback that day, and even more embarrassing, the Seahawks didn't even have a winning record. Seattle entered the divisional round with an 8-9 record, with the 2010 Seahawks being a far cry from the 2005 team who finished one win shy of a Super Bowl victory. Anyway, that Bears playoff win took place in January of 2011, over 10 years ago. Yikes, that's awful. If we count playoff wins against winning teams, the Bears haven't won a dignified playoff game since the 2007 NFC Championship game. So yeah, Chicago isn't exactly known as a franchise known for recent and sustained success. All of these facts are important to note when critiquing Ryan Pace's latest disaster of a free agent pickup, quarterback Andy Dalton. After offering Seattle a ridiculous trade request of 3 first-round picks, a third-round draft pick, and 2 starting players for quarterback Russell Wilson, the Seahawks responded with, "Thanks, but no thanks." It's actually kind of crazy that Seahawks GM John Schneider would turn that down. Is any one player better than 6 players? I don't think so, but apparently Schneider thinks that Russell Wilson will improve from some of his disastrous interceptions this past season. Remember, Wilson was definitely prone to turnovers in 2020. In fact, during the lopsided defeat in the wild card against the Rams, the former Super Bowl champion threw a pick-6 and completed less than 50% of his passes. By the way, that playoff defeat took place at home to a team that, of course, they knew very well. And yet Schneider would rather keep a 32-year-old signal caller over 6 potential impact players. It's definitely a risk, especially since Wilson reportedly wants to change the scenery from the team who drafted him. There's no guarantee that this relationship can be repaired between head coach Pete Carroll and Wilson. But back to Pace and the signing of Andy Dalton. The signing makes sense, especially since Deshaun Watson is currently involved in a humongous legal mess. The legal mess comes from his own doing, and if it turns out to be 9 total civil cases, this won't be solved quickly. Draft picks are very valuable, and if Pace found out about this before the lawsuits hit the mainstream media, then all the power to him for not pursuing a blockbuster trade with the Houston Texans. Well, at least not trade for Watson until 1, the civil matters are resolved, and 2, it's been determined when Deshaun can return to football activities. Watson could very well be suspended from the NFL due to its strict conduct policy. I'm not a Ryan Pace fan by any means, but come on now. Who is Pace going to turn to if Watson is involved in a major litigation situation and the Seahawks won't budge on their insane trade demands? There simply weren't many sexy quarterbacks available since Carolina looks to give Teddy Bridgewater another try at quarterback, and Matt Ryan recently restructured his deal to stay in Atlanta. In my opinion, any player is tradable. The Seahawks are just hoping they can resolve the Wilson relationship, but it was reported by NFL Network that Schneider head coach Pete Carroll discussed the possibility of a Wilson mega deal. Another thing to keep in mind is the Seahawks need a bridge quarterback while they draft and groom one. Dalton could be part of another Bears trade request. While not a Hall of Fame quarterback by any means, Dalton is a 3-time Pro Bowler who helped lead the Bengals to the playoffs on several different occasions after Carson Palmer decided to not play another down for the team. Dalton isn't necessarily that type of player anymore. His last 3 wins for the Cowboys came against teams with losing records, but he has an intriguing resume. He could have easily won the 2015 MVP award if not for his broken right thumb in Week 14, and he had to play for a franchise that's quite possibly the cheapest in the entire NFL. If you don't believe me, check out this article from rosterwatch.com. It's very dated since the author wrote it in 2013, but some of the facts from it are very cringeworthy. For example, former Bengals cornerback Jonathan Joseph once went on the record and said the Bengals make you have a roommate on road trips and put a limitation on how many Gatorades that you can take home. Keep in mind that the Bengals also don't practice at a privatized facility. They practice outdoors all season long unless the players and staff want to drive 25 miles to practice indoors at the University of Cincinnati's indoor facility. The players are even known to complain about the Bengals' messy facilities. When a grown man complains about a lack of cleanliness, you know it has to be filthy. I just bring up the Bengals to help you understand why young quarterbacks can have disastrous results when drafted by the Bengals. The team hasn't won a playoff game since 1990, and once again, Carson Palmer would rather have retired than ever play another snap in Cincy. That's horrendous to think about, and yet Dalton found some decent success in the AFC North Division. However, the 33-year-old version of Andy Dalton is nowhere near the 2015 MVP candidate that the Red Rocket was. Still, the Cowboys decided to bring him in as an emergency option in case Dak Prescott got hurt. Prescott got hurt, and the rest is history. Well, sort of. The Cowboys had a major offensive line problem and overall defensive liabilities with Dalton under center. But the boys still could have won the very weak NFC East division if Dalton was a little bit more consistent. Veteran backup quarterbacks are rather expensive, and with Prescott seemingly at 100% post-injury, the Cowboys let their costly backup quarterback walk in free agency. So the title of this video is trying to answer the question, can Andy Dalton lead to a playoff win? No, he can't. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe below and check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Oh, you want me to do a deeper dive on why Andy Dalton isn't the long-term answer at quarterback? Well, I can do that. Since you're here, let's dig deeper on why Dalton is just the perfect mediocre answer at quarterback. Basically, Dalton is simply another Nick Foles placeholder for the position, nothing more and nothing less. If we go by Pro Football Focus, Dalton ranked 23rd among 32 qualified starting quarterbacks. Not great, obviously, but what's even more surprising is Jared Goff finished just 2 spots better than Dalton. If you're wondering why the Rams were willing to dump multiple first-round picks as well as a former Pro Bowler in Goff, that statistic from Pro Football Focus might give you a better idea. Does Goff stink? No, I wouldn't say that. Rather, Goff is simply a decent option at quarterback with the potential for superstar performances if put in the right system. Sean McVay has completely changed the fortunes of the Rams for the better, and he should definitely get a lot of the credit. But still, bad quarterback play can always overwhelm a franchise, regardless of how good their defense or head coach is. Just look at how bad the Broncos have performed since Peyton Manning retired as a prime example of this. In terms of Dalton, he wasn't supposed to play last year. He was in a position where he pretty much had to play shootout football every week. The Cowboys' defense in 2020 was quite possibly the franchise's worst defensive effort, as the Dallas professional football team gave him a team-worst 473 points. And as you might have guessed, the Dallas defense also gave an absurd number of yards. Dallas is so bad in defense that Dak Prescott threw for over 500 yards in a game against the Browns, and the Cowboys still lost by 11 points. Not only that, but everybody on the Browns dominated when attacking the Cowboys' defensive front seven. Some guy named Ed Ernest Johnson almost gained 100 yards that day, and that's really bad considering that Johnson only gained about 66 more yards the rest of the season. So it's hard to say that Ryan Pace panicked by picking up Andy Dalton. He reportedly tried his best to get Russell Wilson, and he failed. And quite honestly, the Bears might be thanking their lucky stars that they didn't get Wilson. Trading 3 first-rounders for one player is always risky. Remember the Herschel Walker disastrous trade for the Minnesota Vikings? But then again, Russell Wilson is arguably the second-best quarterback in the NFL. Pro Football Focus ranks Russell Wilson as the second-best quarterback since 2019. Andy Dalton is a meager 26th place. But did the Bears even need Dalton? Well, it just depends on what the franchise needs more at the 20th overall pick. Left tackle or rookie quarterback? We at Sports Broadcast Solutions are pushing for the Bears to consider drafting Mac Jones at 20th overall. But we can understand if the Bears decide to go with protecting the quarterback's blind side. If the Bears go with left tackle at number 20 overall, they probably need a better placeholder for the position if they have to go with quarterback in the second round. As shown with former second-rounder Drew Brees, second-rounders can take time to flourish. And who else to help groom the future franchise cornerstone than a decent former second-rounder in Andy Dalton himself? Also, Dalton has proven that he can help lead teams to the playoffs. Then again, he also had A.J. Green to throw the ball to in Cincinnati. And I'm not sure if Allen Robinson is in the same conversation with Green when A.J. was in his prime for the Bengals. Anyway, if 2020 proved anything to us, it showed why the Jaguars were so willing to move on from Nick Foles. Foles is simply a journeyman quarterback who's better at avoiding turnovers than Ryan Fitzpatrick. Did you really think Ryan Pace was going to go with Foles under center if Dalton was available at a fairly reasonable price? So, can Dalton lead the Bears to a playoff win? Well, the problem with that question is the Bears no longer have Kyle Fuller. Pace didn't cut in order to fit Dalton's contract, but he had to do it to make room for Robinson's franchise tag. The good news is the Bears just need to finish as a 7th seed or better in a COVID-19 condensed practice schedule and quarantines. With the vaccine picking up steam in the United States of America, we could see less restrictions in terms of practice schedules and social distancing. But until that happens, expect the 2021 preseason to be similar to 2020. This just means that a 7th seed could realistically make the playoffs at 8-8 or 9-7, and as long as Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks are healthy, Dalton should be able to do enough to put his team in a position to win. Also, the NFL is still considering having 8 teams for the 2021 postseason, so 8-8 and the playoffs could become a reality for Bears fans. And as a stupidly optimistic Bears fan, I definitely think that Dalton could go on the road and win a playoff game in 2021. If you watched the Saints-Bears playoff game, you'll notice that the game was very close for most of it. Mitch Trubisky couldn't get the job done, which is a major reason why he didn't get much free agent love. If you're a Bills fan, you definitely don't want to see Trubisky play unless it's during garbage time. Even without Kyle Fuller at cornerback, the Bears still have enough on defense to give Dalton a reasonable chance to make timely throws and win games. However, this is assuming that Eddie Jackson is much better at open field tackling and doesn't commit silly penalties at the most inopportune times. So although I don't expect the Bears to win a playoff game in 2021, it's definitely a possibility that it could happen. But what do you think? Does Dalton still have enough in the tank to help manage the Bears' offense? Make sure to comment below and subscribe to Sports Broadcast Solutions.
Missing your child's sporting event just plain stinks. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, thanks to Sports Broadcast Solutions. SBS is a live broadcasting network, as well as covering your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more. We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
You don't have to be around Loyola very long to discover that tradition is an important part of the life of the school.
Hey Michael, can we go to Sound 2A?
Let's get started. Everyone pull out your iPads and open up.
If we're not constantly challenging ourselves in new ways, then our tradition is not going to survive. So the vibrancy of the tradition is fed by a creativity and an openness to change. On the first day of school with freshmen, I always ask them this question, and it comes from a wonderful American poet named Mary Oliver. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? As a Jesuit high school, this is a place to ask that question. This is a place to let that question rattle around in your heart. This is a place to let that question get tested. Never let go of it. What is it you want to do with this gift of your life?
My name is Maureen Lonergan, and I'm the Science Department Chair at St. Ignatius College Prep. The Science Department at St. Ignatius is a group of 17 science teachers who teach a range of subjects from physics to biology. What we offer for our students is hands-on learning. So instead of having a model of education where we tell them the world works like this, do this lab and see it, we have them run an experiment and figure out how the world must work that explains what they saw. In addition to your experiences in the classroom, students here have the incredible opportunity to be a part of extracurriculars that are science-based. We have a really popular Girls in STEM organization, GSTEM. They bring speakers here and they hear about women doing great things in science. We also have a robotics program. We also have a science Olympiad team, a medical club, an outdoor ecology club. So your students can be involved in science, not just in our classrooms, but they can be led and brought out into our city and country with these great educators. out of all the science teachers, we have a range of backgrounds and professional experiences represented. We have people who have PhDs in physics, we have people who have degrees in research biology, environmental science, chemistry, so we have a range of experience and knowledge. And when we all come together, we are all united by this passion to make science education engaging and high quality for our students.
Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. We broadcast sporting events for people of all ages, including adult leagues, high school leagues, and kids. Complete with professional-looking graphics, broadcasters, color analysis, and commercials. We do pre- and post-game interviews with the players. In addition, Sports Broadcast Solutions does highlight films, including college recruiting reels, highlight films you'd see on sports news programs, and just simply highlight films for fun. Sports Broadcast Solutions also provides raw footage and live streams if you'd like. Subscribe to us and listen to our professional talk videos about relevant topics in the pro and college ranks. Whatever your sports broadcast needs, contact us at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com and become part of the digital world. Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. Instead of spending hundreds or thousands with all these college recruiting sites, let us put together your college highlight reel. For just a fraction of your potential college scholarship and significantly less than these recruiting services, we got this. In addition, we put together highlight reels for teams, including high school, your club team, or travel team.
My teammate gave me a great pass, and I just took it. The other team slashed me, took the opportunity, saw where the goalie was weak, and I just shot it there.
Solon, O'Connor, and Marsh back on defense. And Marsh gets a blowout. We got a breakaway at 2-0. A shot, and a goal! So 3-3. The power play was officially over.
Whatever your sports broadcast needs, check us out at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital world. Graphical scoreboards to keep you updated. Plus, we have commercials to advertise your team, club, or sponsor, and us. Plus, we do pregame and postgame interviews.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the postgame show brought to you by Marion Central Catholic. My name's Kyle Smith, but my name doesn't matter. These young ladies matter. It's senior night as the Hurricanes win a battle down the stretch, 48-46.
Hi, I'm Carrie Kramer. I swim 50 breast, 50 free, and 100 back.
Whatever your sports broadcast needs, we are at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital sporting world. Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. For those of you who would like to broadcast or live stream your event, or maybe make a highlight tape, but would like a sponsor to fund the event, SBS has a myriad of ways to advertise your sponsor during our broadcasts. We have commercials. We have on-air reads by the announcers.
Albatross Physical Therapy and Wellness specializes in pain-free.
We have graphics, and we have watermarks. Finally, Sports Broadcast Solutions can create a commercial for you or your sponsor. Whatever your sports broadcast needs, we are at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital sporting world. Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. For those of you that just want raw footage of your sporting event, but no play-by-play or color commentary, you just need us to live stream video from the event over the internet. We will live stream your event on YouTube on our Sports Broadcast Solutions channel. In addition, we also have a dedicated channel on YouTube for live streaming at SBS Livestream. And if you need multiple channels, we can utilize Facebook Livestream and Instagram Live on our channel as well. Options include commercials from your sponsors, professional scoreboard graphics are still available, and of course, yes, pre- and post-game interviews are available as an option if you want.
We've been working really hard this whole summer and stuff.
Whatever your sports broadcast needs, we are at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital sporting world.
Missing your child's sporting event just plain stinks. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, thanks to Sports Broadcast Solutions. SBS is a live broadcasting network, as well as covering your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more. We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
My name is Mary Ellen Schneider, and I'm the Fine Arts Department Chair at St. Ignatius. I'm proud to say that we probably have at least 50% of the student body involved in one of the visual or performing arts throughout their career here. It's important for the students to be involved in the arts here because they learn something that they can enjoy for a lifetime. There's no cap on how old you can be to be a musician or a visual artist and create. Our talented students are very creative. Beautiful things are displayed around the school. They also get very excited about productions and concerts, performing for others. And there's so many options for you and so much for you to have fun with. I love being department chair because it's exciting to be able to lead a group of other artists and to see them be able to be involved in the arts. Sometimes at the high school level, it becomes very selective. We have so many things here that are inclusive of students at all levels.
My name is Patrick Winter, and I'm the chair of the Religious Studies Department at St. Ignatius College Prep. This is the department where we take the academic discipline of theology and we engage our students in questions about God, about meaning, about purpose. I think of us as kind of a worldview department. And what we do is we take the students who come in, we meet them where they are, but then we try to take them somewhere else, somewhere new. What happens in our classrooms is that it becomes kind of a dynamic exchange between the students and their own context and their own experience and the tools that we try to offer to them, and out comes something that is a mix of the religious studies curriculum that's grounded in the Catholic tradition, but also that's brought to life by their own experience and their own reflection and the questions that they have. And the students who we teach really do a wonderful job of actively engaging in that dynamic process.
Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. Let SBS broadcast your sporting event. We have experience and can generate excitement and permanent digital memories for your team.
Tonight. That time, finally a goal for the Stampede.
We have professional video.
So we appreciate you watching the live stream. Caroline will be here shortly. Something I probably should have done in high school is done some rowing, but it looks really, really difficult. Looks like a lot of upper body and some lower body as well. We appreciate you watching today's live broadcast. As Caroline's back, so we'll go to break and then bring it back to Carolyn. You're watching Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
My name is Mary Ellen Schneider, and I'm the Fine Arts Department Chair at St. Ignatius. I'm proud to say that we probably have at least 50% of the student body involved in one of the visual or performing arts throughout their career here. It's important for the students to be involved in the arts here because they learn something that they
Alrighty, welcome back, rowing fans. We are back for our second flight of racing here. We've got the first boats headed back up the North Shore Channel. Passing us now is our St. Ignatius Girls Varsity 4. This boat is made up of many of our senior rowers on the St. Ignatius team. These girls have been with the team for about 4 years now, competing in their final season. Obviously, you know, their last 2 years on the team were significantly affected by the pandemic, but it is just great to see them get a senior season here and get out. Good, so that is the Ignatius Senior 4. They are rowing in the Alex McDonald, named after a former St. Ignatius girls rower. That's actually the shell that I myself competed in as a St. Ignatius rower. As a reminder, I am your host, Caroline Hurley. I am a St. Ignatius novice coach and an alum of the St. Ignatius rowing program. For those of you that were with us for our first flight of racing, it was excellent to see. It was exciting. We had some really close finishes there. A couple of wins for Loyola, and then St. Ignatius Varsity Girls 8 took the final race. So we are back out here at the Jesuit Cup Regatta for the first time in over 2 years. On the north branch of the Chicago River here. Conditions have really held throughout the day, so we are under the Main Street Bridge in Skokie here, so no rain for us and our camera crew, but light rain for the rowers. But as you can see, it's really just a light drizzle. This water is perfect. Very flat water, very good for these rowers for just not really having any big weather conditions to contend with. We've got almost no wind on the channel here, and that'll really help all crews, especially our novices, just get their blade work in clean and just really try and hold it together on this race. In our second flight of racing here, we'll have a couple of different events going on. So we will have a girls varsity 4 event. We'll see 2 of those races. Similar to on the first flight, we saw 2 varsity boys 4s. We will see 2 varsity girls 4s going by here. We will also see a boys novice 8 event, and we will also see a girls novice 4 event. So a little bit of a flip-flop from the morning. We will not be racing varsity boys 8s today, but we will be racing some of these other boat classes here. So coming down the channel right now, it's our second girls varsity 4 coming up. And these crews, they're on the warm-up here. The nice thing with the second flight of racing is many of the athletes, both on Loyola and on the St. Ignatius side, they've already got 1 race under their belts today. Get a little bit of those butterflies out, get those muscles warmed up. So we should see some really good, hopefully some really close racing here in the second set of the day. But right now, these crews, they're just on their warm-up, heading up to the start line, just trying to get into a rhythm. This crew, they came out of the 8. Now they're in a smaller boat, in a 4. We'll see them coming by here. Now, one thing that you'll notice about the St. Ignatius 4 as it comes by is we'll see 2 rowers with their oars and what's called their riggers on the same side of the boat right in a row here. So on the side closest to us, we've got 2 starboards right in a row. That's actually called a bucket rig. The St. Ignatius coaches they're big fans of rigging their boats that way. Mixed opinions in the rowing community about what is the faster rig, but the St. Ignatius girls have been competing in bucket rigged boats for years now. So looking pretty good. We are waiting to see some of these Loyola girls 4s come by. Right, and yeah, some really interesting racing this morning. One of the takeaways that we saw, we actually saw the Loyola crews rating quite a bit lower than some of these St. Ignatius crews here, and that did pay off big for them in some of the morning racing, particularly in our novice racing. I talked a little bit on our morning broadcast. I guess we're still in the morning here, but on our earlier broadcast about what rating can do for a crew, and so rating is otherwise known as strokes per minute, and that is literally how fast they are taking strokes, and they are kind of moving through the race here. And so that rating will be determined by the coxswain, who in the 8s is sitting up at the front of the boat looking at all of the rowers ahead of them, and in the 4s we'll actually see the coxswains laying down in the bow of the boat. So they'll be behind all the rowers laying down, gives them a really clear vantage point, really good view of the course. So those coxswains, they will be determining the rating. That's really a strategic call to make on their parts. And so, they'll give the crew direction as far as how many strokes a minute they want them to row. In these spring races, it can really vary. Typically crews will rate a little bit higher in these shorter spring races than they do in the fall. In our varsity crews, we'll see them, up in the range of 34, 35 strokes a minute. But this morning, what we saw with Loyola was super interesting. They were rating a little bit lower. We saw a lot of their crews come down at about a 28, 29, 30 strokes a minute. That's more the type of rating that you see in a fall race, but what it did for the Loyola boats today, especially for those novices, was it just gave them a little bit more time to row together, and that's really key in novice rowing. The one boat that we did see up at that higher rating was that St. Ignatius Girls Varsity 8. We clocked them at a 35 strokes a minute coming through the bridge here, and that gave them a good edge over the Loyola crew that was a little bit lower. So we'll see how these girls varsity boats decide to go about that in the 4s. We'll see what the coxswains call, what kind of rating those stroke seats are setting. As far as positions in a rowing crew, it's obviously a little bit different than positions on, a basketball team or a football team, but there are some sort of specific and strategic positions to a rowing crew. Not every seat is the same. So the rowing that you guys are seeing this morning is called sweep rowing. That is when the rowers only have one oar and they're each, only on one side of the boat. There's also scull rowing, which is when each rower will have 2 oars, one in each hand, and they will be reaching out over both sides of the boat. So today we are competing in what is called sweep rowing. We've got our ports, which from the coxswain's perspective are the right side of the boat. Rower's perspective, I guess it would be ports would be the left side of the boat for the coxswains. Starboards would be to the right, excuse me. And so each rower will have a side. Sometimes rowers only like to row one side and they kind of get comfortable there and they stay a port or a starboard. Other rowers can row both sides and switch interchangeably, which is really helpful for a coach when trying to shuffle crews around. But yeah, so we've got, that's the first thing to know about rowing is that we've got our 2 sides, port and starboard, in sweep rowing. From there, we've got kind of our different positions through the boat. So in an 8 boat, that rower that is closest to the coxswain, up in the stern, up at the front of the boat, that is the stroke seat, seat number 8. The stroke seat is responsible for setting that rating and setting that rhythm that the coxswain calls. So all of the other rowers, they are following the stroke seat. There does seem to be a bit of a misconception in rowing. A lot of spectators think that the coxswain is actually, calling row, row, row every stroke. But really, there's actually no need for that. The rowers, they know to follow their stroke seat, and that rhythm really comes naturally. And that frees up the coxswain to say a lot of other things, to make a lot of strategic calls, to give the rowers information about how far they are into the race, how close they might be to another crew. So the coxswain is sort of free to make those strategic calls. The stroke seat will be setting that rhythm. Behind stroke seat, we've got 7 seat. 7 seat, often a starboard, but sometimes they can be a port. 7 seat, their main job is really just to back up that stroke seat and to really, back them up on that rhythm that they're setting down, really just, lay down a good pace for the crew. So that's what we're looking to see from 7 seat. Following 7 seat, that middle of the boat, seats 6, 5, 4, and 3. That's really the powerhouse of the shell. That's typically where coaches will put some of their really strong rowers, and we like to see a lot of power coming from that middle of the crew. Our bottom pair there in the bow, that's called our bow pair. Those are seats 2 and 1. Sometimes it'll be smaller rowers, or it'll just be really, technically sharp rowers. And what we love to see from the bow is just really good technique, really good timing. It's really important that, the rowers in the bow, because they're so far from that stroke, that they stay on time. So coming down the course, we've got our St. Ignatius Boys Novice 8. So this is made up of a mix of freshmen and sophomores, but all of them, this, is kind of their first big spring race here. We've had a slight change in the conditions in the last few minutes as I've been chatting away. We've got just a little bit steadier rain. No wind has really picked up, but the rain is definitely a little bit steadier. I'm definitely thankful to be dry under the bridge. I know the feeling of being a coxswain sitting cold and wet in the rain, because, the coxswains are not moving to keep warm. So, I do feel for them, and it looks like our coxswain here, Ella Gillespie, she's all bundled up, ready for this race. Coming through here, this is the St. Ignatius Novice Boys 8. We've got our stroke seat Eli up there closest to Ella. And then we've got Aiden Aqui in 7, and Aiden is going to be backing up Eli on that rating. Good, and so they are just moving through their warm-up here, moving up to that start line. We've got a few more spectators under the bridge here with us now. So we've got, some of our rowers, some of our parents. And like I said during our morning broadcast, it is just great to be back out here watching racing, and enjoying what used to be a very normal activity during, the spring months. Typically, these crews and these athletes, they will be traveling every weekend. starting from pretty much the end of March or early April, they will travel every weekend all over the Midwest competing against other high school crews. Many spring regattas will be on much larger waterways with, 6 boats across instead of just 2 like we've got here. We are hoping and we are expecting to be competing at the Midwest Championships on the first weekend of May in Cincinnati, Ohio. That regatta will be much bigger. We will see crews from all over the Midwest. We'll typically see crews from Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, kind of all coming together, competing for qualifying spots for the National Championship Regatta. Good. Coming down the course now, it looks like it is our Loyola boys Novice 8, also on their warm-up, just moving through here. Now this might be a bit of a trick of the eyes here. So what it might actually be is 2 Loyola girls 4s, kind of one right after the other. So we've got 8 blades coming up here, but they're actually in 2 separate boats. These are our Loyola girls 4 at least, and then we'll see what that other boat behind them is. Nope, I am wrong again. This is a Loyola girls 8. So they are heading out to race here. Good, and so we'll see what order of the racing is in here. This looks to be some Loyola seniors. They've got that class of 2021 shirt on here. Looking very clean coming under the bridge. And so as I said, when those St. Ignatius seniors went by, it is just really great that these kids get a senior season to row in here. They've been incredible all year, really adapting to just all kinds of different training and different things going on. But Loyola looking clean through there in the 8. Here we go, another Loyola 8 coming by. This is a Loyola boys 8. I imagine they will be racing that St. Ignatius boys Novice 8 that went by a few minutes ago. All right, and so we're just waiting for a few more crews to head up the course. Same situation as with these morning races. Once these crews get up there, they will spin around and race back the other way. The distance they'll be racing here, 1,500 meters. That is the high school, scholastic racing distance in the spring. Many other crews club teams that are not associated with a school, they will race a full 2,000 meter race. In the Olympics in Tokyo in July, we will see all of those rowers competing across 2,000 meters. If you are enjoying rowing live stream watching, then boy, I cannot tell you how good Olympic rowing is to watch. Would highly recommend everybody checking that out once it's on in July. It really is some of the most enjoyable broadcasts of the Olympics. It's very cool. They'll get 6 boats lined up across, and it truly is the best rowing in the world. So here we go, another Loyola 8 coming down. Good, as you can see, we've seen a couple of Loyola 8s going by now. Loyola's got a slightly bigger team than St. Ignatius. St. Ignatius typically, competes in 4s. Loyola typically competes in 8s. But we do match up and race each other every year in this Jesuit Cup. All right, a little bit of a lull here. We've got some more crews probably way off in the distance there coming down. There's a couple more boats we're waiting to see. We're waiting to see the St. Ignatius Girls Novice 4 and I believe the Loyola Girls Novice 4 as well. Those have yet to come by. That will be our first race of the second session. It should be these Girls Novice 4s. So once they get down there, we will get going in the other direction. Good. And while we're waiting here, we just want to say thank you to all of the parents, friends, family watching from home. We obviously, of course, would love to have in-person spectators at this event, but it does mean a lot to all of our athletes to know that, their hard work is not going unnoticed, that we've got some spectators at home. I'd like to give a shout out to St. Ignatius coach Rich Sims, who I know is watching from home. Rich, we miss you and we can't wait to see you. And to all the parents, thank you for everything that you do for these athletes. I know St. Ignatius, we just finished up our spring training camp. As another sort of COVID, casualty, we were not able to travel for spring training this year, so we completed a week of practices from our home boathouse. The parents, thank you. They did an excellent job. Loyola, I know they just finished their spring break as well. So thank you to the parents of both crews here. You guys really do keep these programs running, and it really does make a huge difference for all of these kids. Good. We had a little bit of heavier rain there when the St. Ignatius Boys 8 was coming by. The rain has let up again. It's back to just that kind of light drizzle that it's been all day. Still none of the thunderstorms that we were fearful of this morning. No wind. This is really, ideal rowing conditions. The rain is really nothing as long as you don't have to contend with any wind or anything like that. This is about as good as you can hope for here. Just waiting for those last couple of boats to come down. I know for the viewers at home, we did have a bit of a late start this morning. Bit of a long wait waiting for these crews, but boy, was it exciting when they finally did come down and we got some of our first racing in about 2 years here. And again, rain has picked up a little bit here from when I just said that the rain had eased off. It's picked up a little bit again, and we've maybe just got a slight headwind up the course, but certainly nothing that is disrupting these conditions. I know some of our viewers at home are looking for some names as the crews come by. I will certainly do my best. I can't say that I am familiar with at least with the Loyola crews, but we will try and get you guys some good information on all of these boats coming by today, all of our athletes. And for those of you watching at home that have maybe never been to a rowing race, I would highly recommend, once we are back in person, once we are, welcoming spectators back to these courses, do go out and check out a race, whether it's for, your kids or your friends' kids, your nieces, nephews, whoever it may be. Come out and watch these kids. It's really an incredible sport. It's a pretty uncommon sport, but these kids that have really made the decision to come out and do a sport where you've got to be out like this in the rain. Our season is all year long. It's fall, winter, and spring. Many of the kids also train over the summer. These kids are putting in hard work, but they really have made the best decision of their lives sticking with this. Rowing it's an incredible sport. It's a lifelong sport. We've got, coaches on both teams that have been rowing for really their whole lives. And yeah, so this is something that will stick with these kids. And even the kids that, don't stick with it in college or beyond, they will have so many lessons that they will take away from really what is the ultimate team sport here. All right, and we've had a bit of a long break, so those crews that we've seen go by up at the starting line, we're hoping that they are moving around up there, keeping warm, doing some practice start pieces, just doing anything that they can to kind of stay warm in this wind up there. That is really, or in this rain, sorry, there's not too much wind, but that's really another job of the coxswain, is to make sure, to be attentive to your crew, to make sure that they've kind of got what they need to execute a race really successfully, and one piece of that is keeping them warm up at the starting line. Also keeping them calm. Those nerves, they do kind of tend to set in the longer that you're sitting up at the start there. So the coxswain, they've really got to, that tone and that, vibe through the crew really has to come from them. So hopefully with, our varsity crews that are up there right now, those coxswains are keeping the kids moving as we wait for these last few boats to come down. Rain is a little bit steadier now. There's maybe a little bit of wind here on the water, but for the most part, nothing that'll disrupt the rowing too much. Here, I'll sit. Good. And we are going to go to just a short break here as we're kind of waiting for these other crews. So we will be back. Stay tuned. Viewers, do not leave us. We are just going to cut to a short break while we wait for these other boats to come down. Thanks, guys.
Missing your child's sporting event just plain stinks. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, thanks to Sports Broadcast Solutions. SBS is a live broadcasting network, as well as covering your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more. We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. For those of you who would like to broadcast or live stream your event, or maybe make a highlight tape but would like a sponsor to fund the event, SBS has a myriad of ways to advertise your sponsor during our broadcasts. We have commercials. We have on-air reads by the announcers.
Albatross Physical Therapy and Wellness specializes in pain-free.
We have graphics, and we have watermarks. Finally, Sports Broadcast Solutions can create a commercial for you or your sponsor. Whatever your sports broadcast needs, we are at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital sporting world.
Others, and there's so many options for you and so much for you to have fun with. I love being department chair because it's exciting to be able to lead a group of other artists and to see them be able to be involved in the arts. Sometimes at the high school level, it becomes very selective. We have so many things here that are inclusive of students at all levels.
All right, welcome back, racing fans. So I am your host, Caroline Hurley, St. Ignatius novice coach. I'm actually here with some of our St. Ignatius athletes. I've got Caroline Bedell on the other line here to talk about that girls Varsity 8 race this morning. So Caroline was the coxswain of that St. Ignatius girls Varsity 8. Caroline, talk us through that race a little bit. You know, how did it feel? How did it start? You know, from the viewer's perspective, we couldn't see the whole race. So what was really that, that turning point moment there where you guys knew you had it?
It was definitely really tense in the beginning. The course is very narrow, and we hadn't really done like a head-on race side by side before on this course. We were only doing time trials. So we were definitely really tense rowing up to the start, but right at the start of the race, the start was very clean. We had a great flutter in the beginning, and our settle, we were able to Chloe really settled the race down to a 34. It was super nice and smooth, and towards this bridge, like where the live broadcast is, we were really able to walk on Loyola, and it went very smoothly. I'm very proud of everyone.
Yeah, that's great to hear. There's nothing better as a coxswain than, just executing your race plan.
Exactly.
Really knowing that things went well. So that's great to hear. You as the coxswain, you said there are a lot of nerves kind of heading up to the start. What were some of the things that you were telling your crew to just, get their heads in the game for this first race in a few years here?
Definitely getting nervous. It really can rush the boat. Very tense. We got to relax our bodies. That was something we really had to focus on, and also just staying at that nice steady rate, getting lots of run throughout, rowing up to the start, so we could really just calm down for the race. It's ultimately slower is faster, so just getting lots of run in the boat really helped us.
Awesome. And Caroline, you're a senior, correct?
Yes.
All right. So how has, talk us through your 4 years here. You had 2 very normal years on the team,
Yes.
which obviously was excellent. You had a bit of a tough junior year, as did all these other athletes. How is it to be back out here today racing again?
It's really nice. I actually wasn't expecting that, just with everything with the pandemic, like that we would be here today, but I'm just very grateful that my senior year we can race, we can possibly go to Midwest. I'm very excited, and today went really smoothly. I'm super happy as a senior just to end my last year very smoothly with a nice race on the team. I'm gonna miss everyone.
Awesome. Well, that is fantastic. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. In a second here, we will hear from some of our St. Ignatius varsity boys. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you.
Missing your child's sporting event just plain stinks. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, thanks to Sports Broadcast Solutions. SBS is a live broadcasting network, as well as covering your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more. We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
All right, and viewers at home, we are back. We have Tyler Grady here, a senior on the St. Ignatius varsity boys rowing team. Tyler was in one of those St. Ignatius 4s that came by, and he was really anchoring that boat as a senior. He was rowing with, 3 sophomores, Tyler?
Yes.
Yeah, so 3 sophomores, and those sophomores, because last season was, unfortunately canceled due to COVID, this is one of sort of their first head-to-head races here. So, Tyler, talk us through it. How was it, bringing the experience to that boat?
I think it went really well. I was very pleasantly surprised with that race. It was pretty much all 3 of those guys' first race out there. They had a couple races beforehand in the novice boats, but this was their first real, actual race together as a sophomore team. That was also the first race we had as that specific boat. So I think it went really well. I think they pressed hard and rowed well.
Yeah, and you guys have been, training through the pandemic here. What has really gotten you through some of these more difficult months?
just knowing that I have to be able to stick it out for the rest of the team. I think every person on this team can agree that personally we want to do well so everyone else can do well. We got the 8s coming down.
Awesome. Yeah, and so as Tyler said, you know, we've got 2 boats coming down here. We've got 2 Loyola boys 8s going head to head here. We do not have a St. Ignatius boat in this event, but these are 2 Loyola, it looks like varsity boys 8s coming down. Good. This boat close to shore here, leading by about a little bit less than a boat length, but they are moving ahead. That coxswain is moving towards the center of the river there to avoid, you know, we've got a tree branch out there. Good. So there goes the Loyola Academy boys 8s. All right. So Tyler, talk us through it again. So you were saying, you know, just knowing that you've got to prepare for these spring races and that you've got something to look forward to. Looking ahead to Midwest, what are you guys focusing on? What are you hoping to accomplish there?
I think we just have to get out in the water more. I think the whole reason we didn't do as well as we could have, I think we just need to get out there, get more strokes on the water, and just get out there and practice. There's a ton of potential on this team. We've got a lot of strong guys, a lot of guys with really great talent, and I think if we get out there, practice, and get a lot of strokes out there on the water, I think we can come back to Midwest stronger and more prepared, and I think we can do pretty well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tyler. It was great to hear from you. Congratulations on a solid race today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Ellen Schneider, and I'm the Fine Arts Department Chair at St. Ignatius. I'm proud to say that we probably have at least 50% of the student body involved in one of the visual or performing arts throughout their career here. It's important for the students to be involved in the arts here because they learn something that they can enjoy for a lifetime. There's no cap on how old you can be to be a musician or a visual artist and create. Our talented students are very creative. Beautiful things are displayed around the school. They also get very excited about productions and concerts, performing for others. And there's so many options for you and so much for you to have fun with. I love being department chair because it's exciting to be able to lead a group of other artists and to see them be able to be involved in the arts. Sometimes at the high school level, it becomes very selective. We have so many things here that are inclusive of students at all levels.
You don't have to be around Loyola very long to discover that tradition is an important part of the life of the school.
Hey Michael, can we go to Sound 2A?
Let's get started. Everyone pull out your iPads and open up.
If we're not constantly challenging ourselves in new ways, then our tradition's not going to survive. So the vibrancy of the tradition is fed by a creativity and an openness to change. On the first day of school with freshmen, I always ask them this question, and it comes from a wonderful American poet named Mary Oliver. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? As a Jesuit high school, this is a place to ask that question. This is a place to let that question rattle around in your heart. This is a place to let that question get tested.
Coming down the course right now, this looks like our St. Ignatius boys Novice 8 coming down. And then we've got another Loyola boat a few boat lengths behind them. So these are the St. Ignatius Novice boys. This crew is made up of a combination of both sophomores and freshmen. Our stroke seat Eli in this boat is setting a nice long rhythm. We're at about 31 strokes a minute here. Like I said, we're made up of freshmen and sophomores in this crew. You'll see our freshmen in the gray t-shirts. We've got Henry and Gavin. And then we've got some sophomores here. We've got Yash and Bal, followed by Jack. Then Henry, Chris, Richie, Gavin, Aiden and Eli. Our coxswain is Ella Gillespie. You can see the timing looks pretty good. They're at about a 31, a little bit lower rating than we saw those St. Ignatius boats coming down earlier. Eli, just a nice long rhythm there. Good, and coming up behind them, up the channel now, it looks like we've got a Loyola girls 8 that they were competing against here. So we lined up this boys novice 8 with these Loyola girls here. Also very clean on the timing, looking solid here through the bridge. Good, and also at a 31 on the rating. Good, so at this sort of lower rating, we're looking to see some nice length. We're looking to see these rowers kind of reaching out over their riggers. But overall, really good timing from the Ramblers here as they come through the bridge.
Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. For those of you that just want raw footage of your sporting event, but no play-by-play or color commentary, you just need us to live stream video from the event over the internet. We will live stream your event on YouTube on our Sports Broadcast Solutions channel. In addition, we also have a dedicated channel on YouTube for live streaming at SBS Livestream. And if you need multiple channels, we can utilize Facebook Livestream and Instagram Live on our channel as well. Options include commercials from your sponsors, professional scoreboard graphics are still available, and of course, yes, pre- and post-game interviews are available as an option if you want.
We've been working really hard this whole summer and stuff.
Whatever your sports broadcast needs, we are at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Check us out and become part of the digital sporting world.
All right, and we are back here. I'm here with St. Ignatius Junior and boys varsity rower Toby Quinn. Toby was bow seat in one of the fours that we saw go down in the earlier session. So we've actually just gotten word up here in the camera booth that the girls novice fours that we were waiting for, they have scratched. They will not be racing, but many of those St. Ignatius girls that were going to race in that four, we did see them come down in the 8 earlier. So I'm here with Toby Quinn. Toby was in one of the fours earlier. Toby, it's been really an incredible kind of, 2 years of training for you here. What has, kept you getting up at 4:30 in the morning every day and kept you going?
Well, I think the main thing for me is that my freshman and sophomore year, I was a coxswain. So I was kind of I didn't really know what I was doing so I grew and I just kept doing the workouts and kind of that consistency, like it sort of helped me get centered in the morning and having a workout before school. I really do enjoy that.
Yeah, fantastic. So Toby hit a huge growth spurt after spending 2 years as a coxswain. He's quite tall now and is spending his time as a rower. So we'll cut back to Toby in a second here, but right now I've got the girls varsity fours coming down. This looks like the St. Ignatius sophomore girls 4 is going to be on that far side of the river. Loyola will be closest to us. This St. Ignatius girls 4 is rating up at a 35.5, 36. So that's similar to what we saw in the morning races in their 8. They were a little bit higher. We've got the same stroke seat. We've got Chloe Darcy in stroke seat here. Vivian is in 3 seat behind Chloe. It looks like we've got Lily Hurt in 2 seat. And then I'm not sure who we've got in bow seat there. I can't quite tell. But we've got Olivia in coxswain seat here. Good, and they're looking incredibly long, incredibly clean. They've got about 2 boat lengths of open water on this Loyola girls 4 here. Here comes the Ramblers. I've got Loyola at about a 33 on the rating, slightly lower than St. Ignatius. And yeah, that Ignatius boat, they are just clipping along, about 2 boat lengths of open water. They're heading into the finish line through this bridge. Good, and what you can see on camera here, guys, is some of that timing that I was talking about earlier. That St. Ignatius, those yellow oars, we're seeing that, in together, out together. Loyola, they're close and they're looking pretty good, but if they could just sharpen up a little bit, they could really start coming back on Ignatius. But overall, it looks like it's going to be another win for the Wolfpack in the Varsity Girls 4 event there. All right, the river is quiet now. We're waiting for another set of girls' fours to come down. Getting back to Toby Quinn, our St. Ignatius Varsity boys rower here. Toby, we did our first spring training camp from the boathouse. You guys were, coming and rowing, 6 hours, multiple practices a day there. How did that compare to, some of the other, spring training trips that we've done in the past down to Oak Ridge? And, again, what was really, your team's focus point for the week?
I felt that in the past, when going to Tennessee and things like that, it's been a lot of fun, and you sort of build that community more because you're staying in hotel rooms with people, and you also get to mix up boats a lot. And this time we didn't really get to mix up boats, and we did talk a lot on our lunch and stuff like that, but what we really worked on was just getting everyone up to speed, people who hadn't been there, getting everyone focused on form, really tapping out of the finishes, and I feel like a lot of people did that.
Yeah, so good progress this week, you'd say?
Yes, definitely a lot of good progress.
And a shout out to Toby's parents. They were really key to managing our spring break training camp that we did at our boathouse. They handled all of our food, and it was fantastic. So a big thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Quinn here. Toby, thank you for joining us on this broadcast. We're going to cut over to our second Varsity Girls 4 event here. Coming down closest to us on our shore side, we've got the Loyola Ramblers. They are rating up at about a 34, and maybe about 3 boat lengths of open water behind them, we've got that St. Ignatius senior girls crew coming down in the Alex McDonald shell. The St. Ignatius senior girls, they're rating at about a 33 strokes a minute. Through the bridge here are the Loyola Ramblers. You'll see that coxswain start to kind of move away from shore to stay away from that tree limb that we've got in the river just under the bridge. But yeah, so Loyola is really starting to open up their lead. They look very sharp here. This is really multiple boat lengths of open water. And we will see, if the St. Ignatius senior girls can pull back on them here. All right, and I know we've got Katie Taylor in stroke seat. Good, there we go. St. Ignatius girls looking clean in the Alex McDonald. Yep, Katie holding them at about 34 strokes a minute now, heading into that last, 500 meters or so of the race. All right, and I think that should do it for our broadcast today. I believe that is all the races that we have to go by. So to our viewers at home, thank you so much for watching the 2021 Jesuit Cup with us. Our athletes certainly appreciate it, and we hope you will, tune in to some of our future races this spring, and everyone keep your fingers crossed that we will be meeting up with Loyola again at the Midwest Championships in a few weeks here. Thank you very much for joining, and everyone have a lovely Saturday.